Hello, my name is Meryl van der Merwe and I am the teacher for FundaFunda's online government class. Just before I get into telling you more about the class, let me tell you a little bit about myself. You can hear from my accent, I am not American. I come from South Africa and we've been living in the United States for almost 20 years now, and we are now American citizens. Of course, I didn't know all that much about American government. And what happened was at our local co-op, the teacher left, and I was asked to teach because I was already teaching US history. And so I learned along with the students, I must say. My youngest daughter had actually chosen to go to public school, and she had done AP government there. So we used her textbook to see everything that needed to be covered. It's not an AP level, but just so that we covered all the basics. And I have learned a lot about government, and I'm excited to share it with students now in a way that I think they will find not as boring as perhaps many classes are, and also relevant. I firmly believe that everything that students learn should be relevant to their lives, and I know that government and civics is a requirement in most states, and so students aren't doing it because they're interested, but because they have to. However, the reality is we live in a world and we live in a country where they are going to be eligible to vote. They are going to need to understand the process. And so I hope that this class will help them understand and realize why they need to vote. As I did not grow up a Republican or Democrat, it was a lot easier for me to create a class that I hope isn't super biased in either direction. I really am aiming to teach how the government works, not how students should think about the different parties, nor how they should vote. So what I do is I don't use textbooks because those are really boring. Instead, I sometimes make videos myself, but there are some fantastic videos online. And so I use them, and I use online games. There are some great games to teach things like the different amendments. I use simulations, interactive websites, lots of different ways for the students to actually learn. And also they do own research. And so they might research and create a poster. They may make a little video. And in them actually getting involved, they will learn in a far better fashion than if they just sit and listen to me talking to them all the time. And it goes in one ear and out the other, and then they cram for a test and they forget it all. So there's also no tests. Instead, I work on a system of mastery. There are lots of small assignments each week. And although there is no live component to this class, there are weekly deadlines. So they have to submit their work every Friday. We then grade it. I use teaching assistants to help me, and we grade whatever they've done. If they have misunderstood something, if they did it too fast and didn't do a great job, maybe they didn't read the rubric. I do have rubrics, so they know what's expected from them. They get the chance to redo it as many times they need to. As long as they do it within a week, they can keep submitting, and we will keep grading and giving them a better grade, because to me that's far more important than them cramming for a test and forgetting it all. And this is the way they're involved in their learning, and so they remember without really trying to. Also, as I said, I use some simulations and games and quizzes as they go along. And the big simulation that takes place in the class is one where they learn to write a bill, which teaches them a lot about how Congress works. And then once they've all written their bills, then they get divided into committees where they actually look at each other's bills, and they debate them within committee. Some of them will make it out of committee. They can ask for an amendment, and it's actually a whole online system that works really well in teaching students this. And eventually those that make it through committee go onto the House floor, and then the students all morph again and they all become the House, and they get to again debate and they get to vote, and eventually it's extra credit for any bill that actually gets passed all the way, that has made it all the way through to the House and will get passed there. I also use podcasts, I use movies, lots of ways to actually teach students in slightly less traditional fashion, but it, I believe, is far more effective, and students actually come out with a much better understanding of government. And they will tell me, even those who don't love the topic will say that they didn't hate it and that they have learned something. So if this sounds like a good fit for your kid, just below I'll have a link to the class, and you can go and read a little bit more about it and sign them up.